welcome to the Ditch the Struggle podcast. I'm your host, Alana Rosso. I'm a graphic designer turned career and success coach who knew I could do better, but kept falling short of where I wanted to go. But after years of exploring personal and career development, business, money mindset, and energy work, I'm here to tell you that yes, you can move from stuck and defeated to empowered and confident. Ready to dive in? Awesome. Together, let's ditch the struggle. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Today, I want to talk about getting things that we don't want and how important it is to get things we don't want. So sometimes the best gift of all is the gift that you actually didn't want to get. So let me explain. If you have been through a phase of your life where you just keep getting crappy jobs, weirdo stress-inducing clients, projects that completely drain you, then you actually have something to celebrate. Because you have received a gift, and it is the gift of contrast. And I firmly believe that it is as important, if not sometimes more important, to experience this gift of contrast and to get things we don't want, especially when we don't want it, so that we know what we want. Okay? So the gift of contrast is when you are shown something that is the complete opposite of what you do want. And these things show up in our lives to point us in a better direction, and more importantly, to kind of help us reflect on where we really want to go. Because to be honest, one of the most common things I hear from people when I ask what they want is that they don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what my next step should be. So they're looking for clarity. Sidebar, if you find yourself and catch yourself saying, I don't know all the time, you need to watch out for that, because saying I don't know is an amazing way to not make a decision, to not make a choice, to not move forward, to just get yourself off the hook of so many things. So just watch out for that as a sidebar. But if you really don't know where you want to go and you have to try something, you just do go for something and it's not what you want, then that is feedback. It is data. And it is that gift of contrast that is like, okay, yeah, you don't want to go this direction. You need to go over there. You need to take a 90-degree pivot. You need to go to where there's good clients or a good company or a great boss, or there's just something about your situation that has to change. And so we need to have these kind of crap experiences. And having that perspective that it's not necessarily a mistake is imperative. I remember when I was going through coaching school, there was a whole lesson section about how we never make mistakes, that we can't actually make a mistake. This really ruffled some people's feathers. They just could not get their head around this concept that nothing is a mistake, especially when you have that vision, hindsight vision, being like, oh, well, had I gone to that other school, it would have worked out great. Or had I not moved to that city, things would have been, amazing in my life. So this concept of not making mistakes really trips a lot of people up. I can get on board with it, actually. And part of that reframe is looking at everything as an experience, as data. Showing me what I don't want is of huge value. That's just the way I see it. So I remember having this dinner with a friend, and she was also really into personal development. I'm just going to call her Lisa. And she went back to a corporate on-site contract job after working remotely for, I think, about 2 years. And she's a people person. So she thought she wanted to be back in the office where she could enjoy face-to-face collaboration and being in a cool downtown office, and that she would feel satisfied kind of working more full-time hours, because she was working very kind of piecemeal part-time remote work. So unfortunately, or should we say fortunately, Lisa had 2 contracts in a row as a project manager, and they both sucked. I mean, she was miserable. First one was led by a high-strung toxic boss with crazy unrealistic expectations. Been there, done that. And the second one was completely exhausting, annoying, and just the job was not in any way satisfying. And I believe Lisa said at least once, I just didn't give a fuck about any of it. And, clearly not in the right place or the right people. Like when you just don't care, that is a sign. And it's not a bad sign. Again, this is data and saying, you know what, this isn't the place for you. Someone else is going to care about that job, but you maybe not so much. So Lisa was not happy not having it. But like the story ends well because she had done a lot of personal development work and she totally got that she was being shown what she didn't want because she thought she did want those jobs. So if you think you want something, you kind of have to go for it because you think you want it. And that makes total sense. What trips us up is when we think we want something, we go for it, we get it, and then we're like, this sucks, I don't like it, I've screwed up. Like that's what we do. But really, no, that's not what's happening. It's like you have to go through it because sometimes the only way to know what you don't want is to experience that shitstorm. You have to get your hands dirty, see what it really feels like, and then you can experience the freedom of walking away from something that you know absolutely not for you. You're not wasting time. You're not wasting energy unless you stay in it way too long. So the trick is to kind of notice when you don't want to be somewhere and then plan your strategic exit. So you're not just staying around for the sake of just staying around. But the point here is to just not freak out about being served a challenging situation. Like I have had so many jobs where I just knew this wasn't for me. I talk about this in one of my episodes where I ended up working at the shopping channel. I was an art director 2 weeks into the job. So I was just a freelance contractor. 2 weeks in, I absolutely knew the job was not sustainable. Like I was having a great time in many ways. I loved who I was working with. There was really cool work to be done, but it was physically and mentally not sustainable. I was working 11-hour days and commuting on top of that from Toronto to Mississauga. But that job, that company, that was kind of on my bucket list. Like I always wanted to work there because there's no other place that exists like that. It's its own little universe in Canada. It just doesn't exist, right? Like there's nothing else like it. So I really wanted to have that experience. There was a part of me that was like, I wanted this and I went for it and it's not what I expected and I'm bummed and I'm actually kind of angry about it. But there wasn't the other part of me that was just so satisfied that I was able to go for it, kind of check it off the bucket list and realize that it wasn't necessarily for me long term. Short term, it was great, but not long term. I just knew I couldn't physically do it. There's just so many times in our life where we think we want things, like you think you want that high power creative director job, or maybe you think you want demanding type A clients, or maybe you think you want to burn the midnight oil and just work 24/7. And like you want to have this specific high stress, satisfying, like, running from A to B to Z career or job. Or you can think that you want something really laid back and chill. And then you get there and you're like, this is more boring and stressful than watching paint dry, right? So you can think you want something and then you don't. And, the real development comes from recognizing that this is simply an experience. This is a reality wallop to help you admit to yourself what you don't want. And it's okay to not want what everyone else wants. I think that's really difficult. Like we see our friends and family going for things, having these big dreams or these goals, or moving jobs, countries, careers, whatever they're doing. And we think we should want those things for ourselves. I had a lot of friends leave Toronto, leave Canada. Like I had a friend move to Dubai and build her career there. My other friend is in New York. And there was a part of me that thought that I should also want to do that and leave. And don't get me wrong, right now I'm not too excited to be, I'm having a lot of challenges living in Canada right now. But at the time, those moves, those decisions were not right for me. And I actually didn't want them. I didn't want to travel. And actually right now, I still don't feel like I want to travel that much. And sometimes I really beat myself up about that. It's like, why do you not want to travel? Everyone else wants to travel. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm not in that phase right now. So you have to kind of muster the courage to head towards whatever is your path, like whatever's meant for you, even if the next path you find yourself on is like not perfect, not paradise. You just need to keep staying committed to your feelings, honoring yourself the permission to explore a new route and to also, again, do what is right for you, not necessarily what is right for your friends or your family or those cool people that you wish you were like, right? You got to just keep going, listen to your gut. And then eventually you will feel more at peace when you have more data and you have those experiences show you what you don't want. Now, if after years and years and years of only getting what you don't want, then there's definitely more deep dives to be done and more personal development work to be done. And in that case, you are potentially manifesting exactly what you don't want because it could be a whole bunch of different reasons. You don't feel you're worthy of what you actually want. You still don't have clarity over what you want. You could still be going after other people's goals, which I talk about in one of my episodes, the OPGs, when you're totally out of alignment. Sometimes it is because you are just following the expectations and goals of others and not at all listening to what you want to do and just not following your intuition, not following your passion, not thinking about what's actually going to fulfill yourself. And interestingly, I had a conversation with a client not too long ago, and they wanted to go into an industry that they knew their parents wouldn't approve of. And so they thought their parents would think it was trivial. We'll put it that way. And there was a feeling of judgment and shame around that. And so we had a lot of conversations about what this potential role, this kind of job would do for them, like what they wanted to go into, would it be fulfilling to them? And they explained it was like it was very moving to hear why they wanted to go into it. And people are always going to have judgment over what we do, whether it's worthy, whether it's not, whether it makes sense, whether it's dumb, whether it's smart, stupid. I mean, unless you're a brain surgeon, people are going to have judgment and be like, or you're a doctor, people are going to be like, yeah, that's amazing. But I have a very good friend who thinks that coaching is pretty stupid. Now, she has not said it, so you could say I'm making an assumption, but she kind of won't talk about it, kind of scoffs at other coaches, especially if they're in business coaching. She doesn't think you can be a business coach unless you've built multi-million dollar companies, which is completely untrue because it depends who you're coaching. She just doesn't acknowledge what I do for a living in many ways, or part of my living. But do you think that one person's opinion is going to affect and deter me from doing what I do? No, because I have learned to put blinders on and to do my own exploration and to see what's going to work for me. Now, I have absolutely had experiences that were just awful, as I've talked about at the shopping channel. I've had my toxic boss at the cosmetic industry, but I am grateful for every single one of them. Now, would I have liked to have gone through that toxic boss situation for as long? No, but it did show me that I'm really, at this point in my life, not interested in being in a very large corporation and with all the red tape and all the HRness. I'm just not interested. So in many ways, that was my contrast. And then it pushes me further to look and explore avenues that are in contrast to that experience because I know what I don't want. So the takeaway today is appreciate the shitstorms because they're showing you what you don't want and use that as data to help propel yourself forward and make different decisions. It has to be different decisions to get you in a different place that will get you into somewhere you want to be. So if you can have that reframe and have that mindset that all of these experiences are helpful to you and they are the gift of contrast, I guarantee that it will make your career and your life a lot easier. Take care, guys. Thank you for joining me today on Ditch the Struggle. You showing up here means so much to me. To dig deeper into the topics discussed today and to learn about my work, visit alanarosa.com. And don't forget to download your free resources while you're there. And if this episode resonated with you, please share with others who also want to ditch the struggle. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, leave a rating and a review, and let me know what you'd like to see more of on this podcast. And before I go, I want to leave you with my 3 favorite ways to ditch the struggle. Be your own best advocate, take baby steps for the win, and forget about a linear career path. It's overrated and you are doing just fine. See you next time.